A clearer picture tonight with new emergency recordings from Roseburg, Oregon, a town now scarred with a mass shooting on a college campus. Plus tales of heroism emerging. And from coast to coast, a nation deeply engaged in conversation. ABC-7's complete coverage of guns in America continues tonight from our West El Paso studio, where we're gathering new details by the hour.
And from here on the UTEP campus, where many universities in Texas are dealing with the very divisive issue of guns on campus. Good evening, everyone. I'm Rick Cabrera.
Rick, a day after the shooter went on a rampage, we can finally put a face to the man behind this horrific attack. Within the last hour, Oregon State Police officially confirmed the shooter's name, Christopher Sean Harper Mercer. ABC-7 also just learning the 26-year-old was enrolled in the class he attacked in this small town of Roseburg. Also new today, ABC-7 learning the gunman served briefly in the Army, starting basic training back in 2008. He was discharged a month later when he couldn't fulfill the minimum standards. Rick, the details we've been gathering all day are frightening. The gunman reportedly had steel-plated body armor.
And that's not all, Estela. Investigators say he had a small arsenal to carry out the massacre.
They were all purchased legally.
The ATF today talking about all of the weapons Harper Mercer had. ABC-7 learned investigators recovered 6 guns at the Oregon Community College and 7 at his apartment, which is still guarded by police, and residents there remain on edge. An ATF spokesman says Harper Mercer or his family bought all 7 weapons legally in the past 3 years.
The victims are Lucero Alcarez.
The sheriff released the name of all 9 people killed by the gunman, men and women ranging in age between 18 and 67, and families of those still fighting to stay alive are bracing for the worst.
Families are currently living through the nightmare in the most personal way possible.
But today, tales of heroism are emerging. Witnesses say 30-year-old student and Army vet Chris Mintz charged straight at the gunman, trying to save anyone he could. He's out of surgery now, recovering from 7 gunshot wounds, and here he is seen in this photo. The new campus concealed carry law will go into effect at universities in Texas on August 1st of 2016, then a year later in 2017 at community college campuses. In advance, universities across the state of Texas have created a task force to develop a plan for instituting the new law. A short time ago, I spoke with the chair of UTEP's task force, Gary Edens, UTEP's vice president for student affairs. The one at UTEP includes 26 people and includes faculty, staff, student, and parent representatives. One of the biggest jobs facing the task force will be determining the exclusion zones where concealed guns will not be permitted.
So it's things like a daycare center. It's things like a laboratory, maybe where there's flammable gases. We have to be very logical and strategic about what those are. We'll justify those and then recommend them to the Board of Regents for final approval.
The task force has already started meeting. Their final draft is due in December, and as he mentioned, it must be approved by the UT Board of Regents. There will also be some public forums that will be announced sometime next week. They want some public input. Again, we'll have those for you sometime next week. And how do Americans feel about gun control? This CNN poll shows 61% say stricter gun control laws will not reduce violence like we saw yesterday in Roseburg, Oregon. Our complete coverage of guns in America continues live from the UTEP campus, where a professor is already turning heads a year before the law goes into effect. And coming up later in this newscast, you're going to hear what he says he'll do if someone shows up at his classroom with a gun. Estela?
Okay, Rick, thank you. And a woman involved in a crash could lose her foot, and the man arrested in the crash told police he had been drinking for several hours. The ABC-7 night team got the arrest affidavit for 34-year-old Jimmy Villanueva from Anthony, New Mexico. He is charged with 3 counts of intoxication assault. Police say he caused a crash Tuesday morning at Artcraft in Donovan in the Upper Valley. All 5 people involved were injured, including 3 Canutillo High School students. Our crew on the scene saw the victims being pulled out of the wreckage. The car was so mangled, rescue crews had to cut a hole in the car's roof to reach them. Investigators say 34-year-old Jimmy Villanueva was trying to make a left turn but failed to yield to a car heading the opposite direction. When officers arrived, they found Villanueva slumped over his steering wheel. They said there was a strong odor of alcohol, and there were several empty beer cans inside his truck. Villanueva was taken to Las Palmas Medical Center accompanied by an officer. And court documents also detail the extent of their injuries. The driver of the car, Araceli Solis, sustained a compound fracture in her foot. Investigators say she might lose her foot. Johnny Ronquillo, the front side passenger, had his femur and right wrist broken. One of the passengers in the back, Gilbert Solis, suffered fractures to his left foot and left arm. The third passenger suffered minor injuries. New information today about a deadly weekend crash in East El Paso. We reported 28-year-old Etiel Porras was charged with intoxication manslaughter and intoxication assault. At around 2:30 Sunday morning, police say he ran a red light and slammed his truck into a car. The passenger in that car, 25-year-old Adrian Reyes, died from his injuries. The ABC-7 team obtained court documents today that state Porras told officers he was on his way home from a bar. Investigators say when officers arrived, they found Porras and two others trying to get Reyes out of the car. Police said Porras' breath had a strong odor of alcohol and his eyes were bloodshot. They say he had slurred speech and trouble keeping his balance. Porras allegedly told officers he drank about 3 beers. A man was run over by his own semi-truck this morning. This happened at Donovan and Mulberry Avenue. Police tell us 56-year-old Raul Chavez failed to properly set the brake. After the truck was serviced, he lost his balance as it began rolling forward. The trailer struck Chavez, who was last reported in critical condition. An El Paso police officer is on administrative leave tonight after being arrested for allegedly driving drunk. Police say 31-year-old Eduardo Chavez was off duty when he crashed into a retaining wall on the border highway Tuesday night. According to court documents obtained by ABC-7, the 7-year veteran initially told police he was texting when he made a wide turn. Documents state officers noticed he had bloodshot eyes, slurred speech, and smelled of alcohol. When officers tried to conduct a sobriety test, Chavez refused. He was arrested and is charged with DWI. His blood alcohol was more than double the legal limit. After being told by the city they were not allowed to hand out booklets in front of the Civic Center, the El Paso Republican Party said they were going to do it anyway. The group was told by the city they were no longer allowed to hand out materials in front of the building. But the group says they don't understand and that they're not doing anything wrong. ABC-7's Josie Ortegon is live with more. Josie.
Estela, they've been doing this for years. Following naturalization ceremonies, the group hands out this booklet here with a copy of the Declaration of Independence, a Constitution, and voter registration information. Another naturalization ceremony was held this morning, and the group did not back down. Members were closely monitored by police officers and security this morning. The groups exchanged words, but no arrests were made. The group is not banned from ceremonies, but they're being told they can only hand out materials 100 feet back or on a sidewalk along the building. Destination El Paso, which manages the Civic Center, says it's not about the content. They also say the Civic Center and plaza in front of the building are not considered public forum spaces. But the Republicans argue they're not being disruptive and the area is otherwise open to the public.
We are here to welcome these nice people that made their citizenship. They came here legally. They waited all these years to make their citizenship.
In this particular case, we have a swearing-in ceremony. It's hosted by the United States Customs and Immigration Services. The party is not actually an affiliated group, so we've asked them to go into the designated area to distribute materials.
Officials with the USCIS did not respond for comment by deadline. Estela, back to you.
Okay, Josie, thank you very much. And if you're just joining us, Delper Dave is keeping the ABC-7 First Alert in place for the sudden change we're expecting over the next few days. Our traffic cameras show it's still dry out there. We could see isolated showers beginning tonight, though, and then more for about how long? Well, that's what people want to know, Doppler.
Yeah, we issued that first alert this afternoon due to a lot of activities going on this weekend, but we're going to have an extensive period all the way into Wednesday of next week. Well, each day we'll have an opportunity for some showers and thunderstorms in the forecast. Plus, you know, to a lesser extent, some cooler air behind a cold front. So an isolated storm possible tonight. I know we have the Friday night football games that are going on. Over the weekend, some storms will be getting cooler behind that front, and even next week, at least for the first part, maybe even into the mid portion of next week, showers and thunderstorms are expected to continue. Now, I know it's Friday night. A lot of you folks are heading out. This is what we are looking at right now on Doppler radar. We're tracking a few of these isolated cells. Here's a lightning bolt here. So we have a thunderstorm out here in Luda County, all pushing towards the northeast. And again, I think our rain chances will get better as we head on through the weekend. We're going to take a look at our latest Future Track computer model, our latest rainfall model, which is looking pretty impressive across parts of town as far as accumulated rains. It's all coming up, Estela.
Okay, Doppler, thank you. Back to the shooting in Oregon. President Obama says opponents of gun control laws know how to stir up fear and scare politicians. And the nation tonight is talking gun control. Rick.
Yes, the president calling for stricter gun control laws, and in Texas, a new law affecting gun control is about to take effect on August 1st of next year. We talked to the UTEP task force establishing those exclusion zones for the concealed campus carry law. However, one professor has already established his own. It's his classroom. UTEP journalism professor David Smith Soto hung out a small no gun sign outside his classroom shortly after Senate Bill 11 was signed into law. He doesn't believe having guns on campuses will save more lives. And even if his classroom is not among the exclusion zones, he's not allowed any student inside his classroom with a gun, calling it a dangerous distraction.
The gun could be dropped. It could go off. Somebody could take it from that person. It is just something that interferes with the normal activity in a classroom. The other thing is that if there's a law that protects people who carry weapons on a university campus, they can come on the campus unchallenged. So you don't know, as a professor, whether that individual has got a legal right to carry the gun or not. You don't know if it's an illegal gun or a legal gun. So the fact
I asked the chair of UTEP's Concealed Carry Campus Task Force and about what would happen if a student or a professor doesn't follow the law. Here is answer coming up in our late report.
You're watching ABC-7's complete coverage of guns in America live tonight from the UTEP campus. This is ABC-7 at 6, where news comes first.
Land of liberty, KVIA.
A horrific tragedy shaking a small Oregon town in Oregon, a small college town in the rest of the country. Tonight, communities stand united through prayer and song, even 2,000 miles away from Roseburg. This video is new at 6 from Prosper, Texas, just outside Dallas. Welcome back to ABC-7 at 6. The shooting in Oregon has you talking about guns in America and in college classrooms. Good evening, everyone. I'm Rick Cabrera, live from the UTEP campus.
And I'm Estela Casas in the ABC-7 studio. And with the tragedy in Oregon, Rick, Republicans and Democrats are weighing in, and it's becoming a hot-button political issue tonight.
Estela, they are all offering their sympathies, but they are divided on what, if anything, should happen next. The president is once again calling for gun control. Our complete coverage continues now.
This is something we should politicize. It is relevant to our common life together, to the body politic.
On the campaign trail, this is what everyone is talking about. Republicans like Jeb Bush and Ted Cruz are openly disagreeing with President Obama on gun control. ABC-7 learned Hillary Clinton is promising she would push for universal background checks and a longer waiting period.
I know there is a way to have sensible gun control measures that help prevent violence, prevent guns from getting into the wrong hands, and save lives.
President Obama said today nothing would change in this country unless the American people change the politics on the issue. Again, we are live from the UTEP campus tonight as the latest school shooting grips the nation and as universities talking about guns on campus. Members of the campus community are meeting this month to talk about the campus carry law, share their feedback and suggestions about security as well.
Okay, and it is a big deal because the Texas open carry law goes into effect in next year in August. Thank you, Rick, and we'll be right back. Stay with us.